As I've talked about on virtually all of the episodes that I have done on my show that started in October of this past year, here in western North Carolina, we have massive areas of deep wilderness that covers a variety of terrain. And here in western North Carolina, life can be easily sustained from small forms all the way up to large forms. And we know that in western North Carolina, that it can definitely sustain the unknown and the darker side of life. But western North Carolina is not the only part of the Carolinas that is known to harbor the things that go bump in the night. Western North Carolina is not the only area of the Carolinas where something may step out from behind a tree in the middle of the deep woods and dead stare you. And western North Carolina is not the only part of the Carolinas where you may find yourself traveling down a desolate stretch of road when suddenly the unknown appears out of the woodline and crosses the road in front of you. See, the fact of the matter is there's plenty of areas in the coastal areas of North Carolina and South Carolina that harbor cryptids. And we're going to talk about many of those encounters over the coming who knows how many weeks, depending on how many stories that folks send me to add to what I already have. Jump in and hang on. And I think that you're going to be fascinated, sometimes scared, but we're definitely going to have an enjoyable ride talking about the cryptids of eastern North Carolina and eastern South Carolina. The first experience that I'm going to share with you in this new series occurred right here, Onslow County, North Carolina, and it was first cataloged by BFRO, the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization. And it takes us all the way back to October of 1965. Now, so many areas of the coastal Carolinas can accurately be called a sportsman's paradise. But on this clear October morning in 1965, a 15-year-old boy made a decision. And he found himself in a situation where one minute he was in an area that could be called a paradise, only to quickly and unexpectedly transition into what we could accurately call a kid's nightmare. Now, Onslow County covers about 905 square miles, plenty of wilderness, plenty of the different kinds of waterways and water features you find in eastern North Carolina, to include swamps. And Onslow County is also the home to Camp Lejeune Marine Corps Base. It's on Camp Lejeune where all of this occurred. Now, on that particular morning, this young 15-year-old boy decided that he was going to skip school and he was going to go explore one of the more remote areas of Camp Lejeune. I'm sure he was carefree and happy, knowing the rule: the worst day in the woods is better than the best day at school or at work, at least till something like this happens. Now, as he wandered along, seeing the sights of nature, he decided at one point to cut through a more densely wooded area. And as he did so, shortly into that densely wooded area, he noticed something very, very strange. All of the sounds of nature had gone dead quiet. Total silence. Now, that's an uncomfortable feeling. And to people who are experienced in the woods, and I don't know if this young man was that experienced, but generally that means that a apex predator is present. But in addition to having to deal with this sudden and complete silence, he became overwashed by that very eerie feeling that he was being watched. Very uncomfortable feeling, where every hair on your neck stands up, every hair on your arms stands up. You've got this strange, almost electric sensation. You don't know what direction to look at. You don't know what's happening. You just know that you're feeling very uncomfortable and very awkward. And as he stood there, he noticed the source of this unease. And at first he thought it was a deer. He saw something in the undergrowth. But as he intensely stared into this dense eastern North Carolina foliage, he quickly figured out that what he was seeing was no deer. What he was seeing was some type of unknown creature. He said it was massive, 8 to 10 feet tall, covered in hair, on 2 feet. And he said this creature was moving so quickly that the sound of this thing bullying its way through the trees and the foliage was thunderous. He would later say that he was amazed that something that big could move that quickly. And I wonder if he didn't do some math in his head as he stood there. And that math that I would have done would have been, if something that big can move that quick, then surely it can overtake me and then do with me as it pleased. I would have been terrified. And he said later, he said, the only thing I could do was stand there. Completely powerless. But just stand there and watch this thing. Finally, the sound of it crashing through the trees and the undergrowth dissipated, and it seemed to have disappeared. Now, had I been him, I would have been thinking a lot of things. Is it really gone? How far did it go? Did it stop and conceal itself? And is it going to stalk me or follow me? Does it have plans for me? But as he was in this trance-like state where all he could do was just stand in place in the face of this apparent danger, the sounds of nature resumed. And he said that kind of brought him out of it. And when he came out of it, he moved out of the area, and he moved out quickly. And it was years before he told anybody what had happened to him, but he never returned to that area again. On the next episode, I will tell you about the encounter had by 3 young Marines in Carteret County, North Carolina in May of 1977, as well as some other experiences. But the 3 young Marines had the type of encounter that is the type that intrigues me the most as a researcher. I'd like to say that I'm dedicating this series of episodes to my friend Hound Dog that lives down there on the eastern end of North Carolina. Been a great friend to me. And also, I would like to tell you that this episode was sponsored by Coastal Charms, a little store down on Oak Island, North Carolina. So if you're down Oak Island this summer, go visit Dawn at Coastal Charms and tell them that Rebel sent you. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you next time.